Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Old One Out. Your host Mark. Today I'd like to talk about the 2008 movie Pontypool. Okay, Pontypool's kind of a horror film. It's got an unusual premise. It was a 15, I believe, when it came out. Directed by a guy called Bruce McDonald, who doesn't appear to have done anything else I've heard of. He's done a lot of TV direction, but this film to me shows a lot of talent and ability. The main characters, there's really only one set, and there's very few characters. But the director and the story work for that scene, that one location, a few characters, 90 minutes. It doesn't flag, it doesn't feel boring, it doesn't feel overextended. It feels just right. They've paced it really well. Actors are Stephen McHattie as Grant Mazzy, who's the main not a shock jock, more like a talk radio jock, who's on the air talking things through, but hearing about things going on outside, which is really where the drama and tension comes from. And he's got a few producers' assistants, and the main one being played by Lisa Houle, Houle. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, but Houle, as Sydney Bry, his main producer. There's a few other actors. There's a Hispanic doctor who comes into it. There's another assistant, and various things like that. I actually found this both on Netflix US streaming and Amazon Prime UK streaming, so it's reasonably easily available if you've got any sort of streaming services. And there were a number of elements about it I really liked. It was a very original story, I thought. It was kind of a version of a zombie story, but it wasn't quite that. It was kind of original on its own. I thought the whole thing was exciting, dramatic. It didn't flag. The acting, particularly from Stephen McHattie, was good. In fact, I couldn't fault any of the acting, but he was particularly good because he was mostly front and center in this, as being the talking DJ. He worked really well. And when I first saw him, I thought, is that William Dafoe? I couldn't be sure. And in other angles, he kind of reminded me of Joe Spinell, but only at certain angles. Certainly more William Dafoe. Though it wasn't like you were watching a carbon copy of those. He was definitely his own character and actor, had his own presence. He was really good in this, really quite good. The script really drove things along. There was no reiteration, there was no repetition, it was no slowed down. It was a ferocious and very original film to me. It's really good to see what someone with talent can do with a single set, small cast, and a good idea that's seen through to the bitter end. It's really good. There was some issues with it though. It was sometimes I found it a little hard to follow exactly what was going on, especially towards the end. And though it was a horror film, it didn't particularly scare me. It engaged me. It definitely engaged me, but it didn't scare me. Overall, very original story. Really, the majority of good modern horror films, I mean, the last, say, 5 years, the majority, not all, but the majority of good horror films, what really makes them is the originality of the story. There are some good ones that are retreading old stories, but just doing it in such an interesting way, it's still worth watching. But the originality of the story really helped with this. There was also a very odd scene, post-credit scene, which was nothing to do with the film, but had the two main actors from the film in something that looked like it was a pastiche of Sin City. Completely different thing. Don't know what that was about, but there you go, it was there. Overall, I'd give this film 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. On IMDb, it's 6.7, so I rate it higher than that. I think it's, equivalent to 8 out of 10, as it were. Really enjoyable. I do believe another podcast is about to cover this, which is Talk Without Rhythm podcast. I'm really interested to see what El Gora, who's over on that podcast, has to say about this and whether he thinks the same thing. I'll urge you, if you enjoy this podcast and want to find out a little more more about the film, but before you get around to watching, try to talk about Room 2 and see what they say see what El Goro says about it. You might find it a different thing, or you might find it agrees with me. Whatever. That's one thing. No, everyone thinks the same. Sometimes you want to hear different things about the film, don't you? All right then, bye from me. Bye.
What you are hearing is an actual radio broadcast. It is the only recording of the event.
Roadblocks preventing people from leaving and entering the area.
Everybody is under quarantine.
We still do not have an official version of these events, and it's very difficult at this moment to get a fix on what has happened.
Oh, God! These people are trying to eat their way inside.
They cut into our signal.
Ken?
And their eyes. He's looking at me.
For your safety, please avoid contact with family members and refrain from the following. All terms of endearment. For greater safety, do not translate this message. Just listen to me.